this, and if you're wondering what the title of this is about, if any of you have seen, news has been around for, I think it went up yesterday, I believe, and Dinosaur Avenger did already a review on it before that, but the Wrestling Observer has announced that Ring of Honor was making financial cutbacks over the last week due to expenses getting too high, and what that basically means is they won't be booking as many guys. They won't be doing, just stuff like that. It's mostly booking talent, not so much running shows, but booking talent, particularly guys from the West Coast, and doing the fly-ins from the West Coast. Now, there's been lots of rumors of why this is, and let me kind of go into this on some of what is out there on why they're making cutbacks. That does not mean that they were in financial problems. What that probably means is this. First of all, it was reported that while the pay-per-views, one of the big things for the pay-per-views was for them to help the house shows and also help with the DVD sales. That has yet to have happened, which doesn't really surprise me, particularly with the DVDs, because I think if people that buy the pay-per-views aren't necessarily going to buy the DVDs. That's just my own personal opinion. But then the same thing goes for as far as the house shows. I think that has a lot to do with them running in the same places, and they're not running in any new spots. And the pay-per-views probably are not being seen by that many people, to be honest. I mean, even if they're doing 10,000 buys, that's, let's see, even with the internet, they're doing, 20,000 people watching the pay-per-views. They probably already had more fans than that, I would say. So, there you go. Out there, so I don't really see that as the thing. But now, as to my opinion on why this has happened, why they're probably cutting back, has to do with a couple things. First of all, the West Coast show was a complete and utter flop. Both shows. One, because not so much neither really because of they could only book a place in Vegas where it was 21 and up, and the show in San Francisco at the wrestling convention thing, the convention itself was a flop, and that overall returned to Ring of Honor. So that plays a part of it. Also, the fact that they did go to Japan this year, that they may have probably just gone even on that. Also, Masawa coming in was not cheap. I'm sure he gave them a deal, but still, it would not be cheap. They probably still had to pay him a lot of money for him to be on a Ring of Honor card. And not only that, they were probably expecting at least the sales of those two DVDs to be similar to the Kobashi DVDs, which I would be shocked if they were selling that well, because there's just not that much hype about neither show. I've seen both shows. Both shows are good, but they're not near, there just doesn't have that magic as, Kobashi versus Joe. There's just not that feel to these shows. So I'm sure that that's another thing. Those DVDs did not sell as much as they wanted. They were probably also figuring by now that house show numbers would go up. And same thing with the DVD sales. That has yet happened, and they were probably somewhat banking on that. So they were cutting back so that they will not lose money. Ring of Honor does not have financial backing like TNA does, like WCW does. So, they basically have to make money. They basically have to make a profit, and they, take those profits and reinvest it back into the company. And that's the only way they can grow as far as the money that is going in. So why am I talking about all this? Because you have people already running around saying, oh, they're going to fall like ECW, oh, this, and that's nothing of the case. All this really is just them probably cutting back, because you still have the Noah guys coming in. If this was a big deal, the Noah guys still wouldn't be booked. They're still bringing over the Dragon Gate guys for the WrestleMania weekend shows, and that's probably part of it too, because they're gonna have to offset the money they're gonna have to pay these guys, and if they were banking on money that's not there, they're gonna have to find the money elsewhere. So that, I would say, is everything that's going on with this. So I think it's kind of just mind-boggling that we have all of these fans who, particularly on the ROH boards, who are just like, oh my god, the sky's falling, oh my god, this is the end, oh, and they're not looking at the fact that, much like when people look at the ratings, look at the buy rates, look at all of the stuff, they're not taking everything into account, and you have to take everything into account. You can't just look at one thing and go, oh my god, this is bad. It's not good, not saying that, but it's not bad. Now, I would say that that Ring of Honor has kind of the faults to this because they have not done a good job of getting themselves out there. They're not putting on, like I have said time and time and time again, there's not enough video wires put up on here on YouTube. There's not enough exposure for themselves. You look at NWA now. A lot of fans griped because the NWA show that was on Colors was not going to be seen on by a lot of people. So what did the NWA do? They put a stream of it on their website, which I'm sure has been a big success for them because, we're all wrestling fans. We're willing to at least watch wrestling, even if it's, just okay. And I think it'll be very interesting to see once the newer stuff that they've taped that's actually going to be part of the show starts airing. I think that's going to be a much bigger deal, but that's the type of thing I've always felt Ring of Honor needs to do. They haven't done it. Part of it is because of money, but it always does amaze me that Ring of Honor, when it comes to that sort of thing, just always seems to be about a step behind. And I think that's the sort of thing that when people, try to get into Ring of Honor, they come on YouTube, there's not that much stuff. I think it does hurt them, and the same thing with the website, which, the website could be a lot better, and it's not, and I think that's a big problem with them. But we do have and I haven't really talked about this much, we do have the 2 DVDs that are going to be widely released at Best Buys and every other retailer coming out. I believe either in March or April, I can't remember off the top of my head, to look forward to. I probably won't be getting either of them because I have most of the matches I would like to see on them. I think there might be a few matches that I'll have to wait and see, but I'm pretty sure I have most of those matches already. Though the DVDs do look, for what they're meant to do, they do look pretty good. So the point of this is, the sky's not falling, people. Don't start freaking out. There has to be far worse things happening for, Ring of Honor to go out of business than what is going on. So just keep that in mind. Just as something to add for this, because I was going to talk about this anyways, and I was actually going to do the Manhattan Mayhem 2 show tonight, but with all of this going on, I felt like I should come on here because people were going to probably start bugging me about, oh, why aren't you talking about it, why aren't you talking about it, or why aren't you talking about it? So here we go, I'm talking about it. Is the Ring of Honor and TNA shows that took place. For those of you who don't know, TNA drew about 1,500 people. Ring of Honor drew somewhere between, the numbers are kind of way out of there to be completely. They're anywhere between I would say about 600 and 800 people. Though everyone that was at the Ring of Honor show said there was definitely more people there than there was at the last show. TNA's, of course, drew about 1,500, which is good for them, even though I would point out that, they stacked that show, and I think it really probably should have been closer to 2,000, but people are going to say, if I say that, oh, I'm just, harping on TNA for no reason. But that said, I think one thing that we can't really judge the TNA show until we see how many of those fans were paid. That's the big thing. You have to see how many of those were paid, how much of Ring of Honor, how much of TNA's audience were they giving out tickets. Not that that's a bad thing, because I do think that sometimes you do need to give out tickets with the hope that you've hooked them and that at least some of those people will come in and buy more tickets. So you can always do that for people that wouldn't normally go anyways. So I think one thing that definitely this did, and I talked about this when I originally talked about it, was that hopefully would help both companies, and I think it did. I think that both companies looked like they drew a lot. A lot of people that went to the TNA show said that the TNA show was full with a lot of families, a lot of kids, which is kind of surprising because, Impact is not what I would call family friendly. I would say it's far from that. I would say it's more along the lines of Raw, and not like SmackDown, which I would say is probably a bit more family friendly. But just keeping that in mind, I think both did what they probably should have done to some extent. Like I said, we'll have to wait and see how much of TNA's was paid and how much of it wasn't. So, but I would still imagine it'd be still around 1,100, 1,000 people showing up, which for TNA isn't too bad. So, keeping that all in mind, again, folks, the sky is not falling. Do not overreact. People love to overreact. Actually look inside the numbers. Actually think about the stuff before you actually go out going crazy about these things. Thank you. I'm out.